Hey, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. How are you all today? I read a very disturbing article today that made me want to talk about it. It's about 6G and threats of the future. Maybe some of you are familiar with what 6G is, if everybody's been concerned with 5G. If you've been concerned with that, 6G is going to blow you away. Before we get started, I want to remind you of our sponsor. Our main sponsor is the Stonemont series. People tell me this is the best series for preparedness, survival, rebuilding after a collapse that they've ever read, and I thank them for saying that, and I'll take them at their word because I wrote them. So if anybody hasn't read them yet, especially with what's coming down the road, you might want to get these. And I always put the way to get them down below in the information box and a pinned comment. You can get them either through Amazon, they get them to you real quick, and you can get them there either in paperback or in Kindle, or you can get signed copies from me. That takes longer. That's also down there, how to get that. And for anybody who is new here, welcome. You'll find that this channel is a little bit different than a lot of preparedness channels. We tend not to concentrate, or I tend, we, as if there's more people back here, but really, it's the commenters too. I claim to have the smartest commenters on YouTube land and in YouTube land, and I tell you what, as time goes on, I just hold to that. In addition to what you may learn here from me, read the comments, because we have some exceptionally smart people. And speaking of exceptionally smart people, if you want even more good stuff, join us on Patreon. If you're not with us on Patreon and you're serious about preparedness and survival, you should be. We have an even more select group of commenters over there and members, a lot of patrons. It's growing quite a bit. It's growing. And I learn stuff over there because we have people with a vast array of knowledge, of expertise, of skills and things, and it's going to add to you. Just to give you an idea of what, in addition, now everything that's on YouTube is also on Patreon, but there's additional stuff on Patreon that's not on YouTube. Right about now, there will be somebody busily clicking away on their keyboard and saying, you just want to sell your books and get people to Patreon. You're exactly right, because of everything that you will learn from them. And I care about the people that watch my channel, and I want them to have the most information. And just because you're upset that you don't have a book to sell, I can't help it. You go ahead and go over to one of these channels that's going to scare you about the latest asteroid headed your way, okay? But to give you, the rest of you thinking people, an idea of what we do over there, I put extra stuff, and the stuff that just goes on Patreon, there's no commercials, because people are paying to be on Patreon. It's only $1 a month, but I figure, well, they're already paying, so I don't put commercials on the things that are just on Patreon. But in the last few days, to give you an idea, I've put up Family, Friends, and Favors, a Mafia Guide to Preparedness, and then I did a follow-up on that of what if a favor is not returned. That's a very important question, and it's the answer that surprises a lot of people. You can learn a lot, and I'm going to continue with that. I'm going to come out in the next few days about the importance of diversification. That is, and you might think that you know what I'm talking about as it relates to preparedness, but maybe not, because there's a lot you can learn there. I put up yesterday, it's almost time. I won't tell you about what it's almost time to do, but it is almost time. And today I just put up one over on Patreon about remote viewing. Is remote viewing a viable technique, tactic, whatever, for SHTF? And I talk about my own experience in it. Okay, and this Sunday, by the way, I'm going to be doing something just to let you all know, because I know that a lot of you are interested in this. This Sunday, my message over on the church channel, Stonemont Church, I also put a link to that down there, will be, should Christians prepare? There are so many questions about that, and it's an important one. So it will be made for the Stonemont Church channel, but I'll also put it on here because it does apply, and there's so many people here that may not be with us yet over on the Stonemont Church channel, but I think you'd enjoy it if you're of that persuasion and that's interesting to you. Please come join us. And in that, I'll also include, should Christians kill? Okay, are Christians called to self-defense? These are important questions that many people don't understand, and many people, to be real honest out there, too many clergy that I've met don't understand it either. So I'll be addressing that. Now to this. Our biggest dangers, as I touched on a little bit on a Patreon video, our biggest dangers going ahead are technological. They really are. If you are not up to speed, or if you're not willing to get up to speed, or to have somebody in your group that is, if you somehow feel repelled by technology, and I'll admit I do. I wish that we could go back to the 1850s. If I had my druthers, as older people in my family used to say, if I had my druthers, we'd go back and live in the 1850s. Life was simpler back then. It was much more in keeping with the way that I think and kind of the way that I deal with things. But the world, we have to deal with the world that we have, not the world we wish for. And the world that we have right now is one of increasing technology, and increasing at such a rate that it's difficult for any of us out here to keep up with it. Okay, I read an article today, I alluded to at the beginning, about 6G. 6G, and you look it up on your own. I'm not going to be able to explain it in any kind of detail that's going to educate you. I just want to call your attention to it. 6G essentially will turn all of our bodies into antennas. And boy, are the scientists excited about this. And you can well imagine how excited the government might be, and how excited the large players like, you know, the alphabet people, how excited they might be about this. Well, are you excited about that? Are you excited about having your body turned into one big antenna for the onboard technology that they will no doubt want to download into you, or get the masses to go out there? You know, we already have people out there. I think the one I read about was over in Europe, one of those Nordic countries that they used to be tough, and now they're just a bunch of weenies. And my apologies to anybody watching from the Nordic, the Scandinavian countries. What has happened to your people? I'm sure you're a good one. You're a Viking, you know. Kelly's family's all, well, not all, but a lot of them from Norway. And then they came over and they populated Minnesota. My gosh, what happened to the Viking spirit, the Nordic spirit that was all about taking care of yourself? Now it just seems like you roll over for anything. And so the thing I was reading about over there was how excited some people were to have chips put in them so that they wouldn't have to, you know, they could just go to work and buzz themselves through doors and just go to the store and buy stuff by showing their hand. What in the world is wrong? Well, those of us who are of the same mindset here, we know what's wrong with them. They're giving themselves over to forces that we don't want to give ourselves over to. But it's coming. And those kinds of things that we can't even begin to understand the depth of the dangers of are coming our way. What are the dangers of the future? And now, this technology can certainly be, I mean, it's going to be used for control, right? We've seen how they've tried to control us over the last few years. They didn't get some of us. They tried. They tried. They got a lot, right? They didn't get me. How about you? They get you? And one of the reasons that they didn't get me and my family was that I was self-sufficient. I was sufficient to live outside of the parameters of their support. That's important. But as technology increases, the control that they have over us is also going to increase, or the at least the potential for the control. And I don't think I've ever seen a control throughout history, a potential that then didn't become the control itself. Have you? Because people, too many people, simply want to control other people. We see that going on up in our Congress right now, where Kevin the Worm is trying to become speaker, and finally there's some people standing up against him. If you want to hear about that, I just got done with a big one over on the American Reversion channel. Talk about what's going on. We've got some people actually standing up against the way things have gone. I don't think they're going to prevail in the long run, but that's what standing up looks like. So as we see the further development of technology, we're going to see these people who want to have control over other people, like people in Congress, like those who run for office, because, occasionally you'll get somebody who runs for Congress or some office because they actually want to serve their community. Usually it's because they want a cushy job with control over other people. Otherwise, they would be out here running businesses. If you want control over yourself, run a business. If you want control over other people, run for office. That's where the worms congregate to control us. And with this new 6G, and who knows what kind of technology is actually out there, the increasing technology, in my opinion, creates the largest danger to us. Whatever we see now is about 20 to 30 years obsolete. I mean, they are 20 to 30 years beyond what they let us hear about, right? So we don't know. When we think that we have pretty much got it to where we can protect ourselves from this, doesn't matter, because they've already invented and tested and put into some use, not this, but that and that and that and that and that. We have no idea how far along they are. It kind of reminds me of when I used to explain to, the first time I did, I was trying to convince a friend of mine who had left the Army and was thinking about going back into the Army, into Special Forces. And I it was after 9/11. And I had some real questions about that. And I was trying to convince him not to. I wasn't able to convince him. He went back in, did his time, retired at a very nice rank. And now he's training other elements of the government. But what I told him, the reason that I wanted no part, I left this system, I wanted no part in it, because I said, when I was in operations, I thought that I knew the reasons we were doing things. When I went from operations into a more intelligence-driven unit, I realized that the operations didn't have a clue as to why they were doing the things they were being tasked to do. But, we in intelligence, now we knew. I went from that level to the next, and I understood two things. I understood that neither operations nor intelligence understood, at least at that level, understood the reasons that things were being done. Both of them thought they did. But I had discovered I hadn't. And my biggest realization was I had no idea at that point. Because in operations, I thought, well, there's this, then there's that, and then there's that. That's the top. I realized I had no idea how many levels were above me. There's no way to know. And that's when I started thinking about leaving. It's the same with this. Technology is developing at such a rate that what we think is cutting edge now and is such a danger that we might start preparing for is already 20 years obsolete. That's something that everybody needs to understand and come to grips with, because it's frightening to think of. But it's the truth. How do we deal with that? Well, being able to separate yourself from the system is good. But technology will develop to the point to where you have no idea whether you're separated from the system or not. Or it might be impossible to be separated from the system. The system might be so organic, might have gotten to be so organic that you're in it. You know, I just put a meme over on one of the Patreon channels. I forget which, because on Patreon you get a lot more besides the videos. You get stuff, and one of them is Keanu Reeves saying, "What people don't understand is The Matrix was a documentary." My suggestion, which I made in the last one, I think, first off, do everything you can to be self-sufficient, separate from the system. The second thing is, do your best to stay up to date on what information is available concerning technology. And if you don't understand it, and I don't claim that I'm there, make sure that you have people around you, people in your group or ancillary, who do and can give you good advice. Those are the dangers. Until what happens in my book happens, there you go. If you haven't read it, read it. It will prepare you. Until that happens, what happens in there, and it will happen, you have other things to concern yourself with, and you have other things against which you have to defend. I'm going to leave it there. But the new world ain't the old world. And the thought that you can protect yourself, survive, or function without an increasingly technological world, without being able to understand it, deal with it, that's head in the sand stuff. You have to know what the threat is in order to prepare to defend against it. Right? Okay. All right. Do it. We say that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. How we prepare evolves. How we prepare evolves according to the threats. And the threats of tomorrow, in addition, I had somebody come on, well, I think the threat, yeah, all those things that have been threats are still threats. But in addition, future threats are technological, and you have to understand them. I know that's not fun. That's not nearly as fun as building a fire, but it's up to you. You know, prepare yourself or don't. But I suggest you do. You all have a good day. I'll talk to you tomorrow or Sunday. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.